welcome to Cindy's Library. This is Cindy, and today I'm going to talk about what I have read so far for the month of July. Now, it's Jane Austen July, and I have been doing some great reading for that. First off, this is basically the write-up of a talk, I guess you could say, on Jane Austen, given by Lord David Cecil, who was one of the Inklings. Absolutely loved the last paragraph here. If I were in doubt as to the wisdom of one of my actions, I should not consult Flaubert or Dostoevsky. The opinion of Balzac or Dickens would carry little weight with me. Even the judgment of Tolstoy I should not put complete confidence, but I should be seriously upset. I should worry for weeks and weeks if I incurred the disapproval of Jane Austen. So glad I read this. Next, I read what Jane Austen had written of Sanditon before her death. It is about 12 chapters, and it is very, very interesting. Let's see. Where is it? I am trying to remember names and such. Yes, Charlotte. That is right. Charlotte is our protagonist. Everything starts on a little track going to a modest house. A modest house is that of Charlotte and her family. I believe she is the eldest girl, so she spends a lot of time helping her mother, of course. She's 17, 18, I believe? In any case, down come this track, a carriage, because they were going the wrong way. They thought that the place they were headed to was the place they wanted because both have the same name. So there is that. And unfortunately, the carriage turned over, and there is a couple inside, probably in their 40s, I'm guessing, something like that. In any case, the lady comes out unharmed. Gentleman, he has an injury to his ankle. So they're stuck at Charlotte's family's home for a bit. And before they leave, they invite Charlotte to come off with them to Sanditon. What is Sanditon? It is a place along the coast of England, beaches, bathing, all that sort of thing. And the husband in particular is extremely enthusiastic about getting Sanditon set up as a resort. And he invites Charlotte to go with them. And her parents agree, and so she does. She meets a number of interesting people, including a lady who is involved in setting up Sanditon along with this gentleman. They're both financially involved. And she meets more of the family. She meets town people there. And it's just at about the point where things are probably starting to get interesting when sadly it breaks off. I think he's a younger brother of the main guy, quite an eligible gentleman. He's the one in the family who's the least ridiculous. Possibly interesting, but we will never know. We will never know. But I enjoyed it. One thing I will say is it is not a Mansfield Park or a Persuasion. It has much more of the tone of an Emma or a Pride and Prejudice, at least the part that we have. So there's that too. I also read The Lady of the Lake by Sir Walter Scott. Interestingly enough, this is not an Arthurian poem. No, instead it is about Scotland and the troubles they have been through. We have oh, let's see. Well, we have Ellen Douglas, young lady whose father has been ousted by the English. There's two different Scottish guys who are in love with her. Then there's, well, if he's not English, he's at least a lowlander who also meets her and love her. And in the midst of this, we have all the Scottish slash Scotch English politics of probably the 17th century. So I quite enjoyed it. I can see why it was all the rage when it came out. Let's see, I read Kidnapped by Robert Louis Stevenson. I have a big Scotch theme this month, it seems, aside from Jane Austen. This is about a young man, David Buffer, probably might be 15, 16, something like that. His father died. He's told his people actually have some land and such, the Shaws of a larger city. And so he goes there, encounters his uncle. Unfortunately, as so often is the case, his uncle is a wicked uncle. And so he ends up basically getting shanghaied onto a ship to be sold into slavery in the Americas. But it's more complicated than that. Given storms, given a stranger they end up taking aboard, Alan Breck Stewart. So lots of Scottish politics. This is only about 1750, so not that long after the Scotch Rebellion of 1745. So, but aside from all the history, it also is kind of like a fairy tale. Like I said, David's uncle is exactly like an uncle out of a fairy tale, a wicked uncle. Alan Breck, he's larger than life. Few uncanny things that happen when he and David end up in the Highlands. And yeah, I quite enjoyed it. Great adventure story. And I read Northanger Abbey, which is one of the group reads for Jane Austen in July. Good to be back with Jane Austen directly. So this features Catherine Morland, and she is invited by some neighbors to go with them to Bath, which is the first real entrance into society she's had. She's meets a number of people, makes a possible new best friend, has two guys interested in her, but let's just say that society is not necessarily the easiest to navigate. And so Catherine does make some mistakes, but she also learns. I love Catherine. She's a great heroine. Maybe not the smartest and maybe not the best, but she is very likable. And not James, Henry Tilney. is a great romantic lead. He really is, and I can see this for many years was my least favorite Jane Austen novel. But then the BBC put out a version, what, 2008? And I watched it, and whatever defects one may say about it, I came away from it not only enjoying the movie, but also finally understanding Northanger Abbey, which I love. And she has some great comments about novels in here too. Now, it is true. I would still probably, yeah, I still put this at the bottom. Not that this isn't a wonderful novel, but it's probably also Jane Austen's simplest novel. Not surprising, it's also her earliest. But just based on that, I probably have to put it at the bottom as much as I love it. So, there is that. In between Jane Austen, I got through the next 3 books of Ascendance of a Bookworm. 2 more to go for this part. And Rosemine is now officially the daughter of the head of the knights, and she's been adopted by the Archduke. And so she has to really sit down and start learning how to be a noble now. Because of her large amount of mana, she also has to take the job of High Bishop, who she sort of ousted at the end of the last section. And if that's not enough, she also is still inventing things, particularly trying to forward printing and literacy and books. So she's got her plate full. Enjoyable as always. Always fun to spend time with Minnie. Rose, meaning, I should say. That's her name now. And I also did this Hobbit sketchbook. Very fun. Amazing art. With some reasonable commentary. Perhaps not so much about the art itself, except generally, as in what they might be looking for to do Goblin Town, for example, or Lake Town, but more about the process both of illustrating The Hobbit for one of its anniversary editions, and also working, of course, on the Hobbit films. I enjoyed it anyway. So that's what I've read in July so far. How's your reading gone thus far this month? I hope it's gone well and you're having a wonderful month. Thank you so much for stopping by. I truly do appreciate it. So, if you want to talk about what you've been reading so far in July, feel free to leave a comment below. I think that's it. So, until next time, I hope we all stay safe and healthy. And as always, happy reading.